Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Radnor Township School District September Facilities Committee meeting. The first item on our agenda is introductions and administrative remarks. I do not see our student rep here, so...
Our student rep had a field hockey game today, so she was unable to attend, but she will be joining us in October.
So she's making good use of our facilities. Okay.
Yes.
That brings us to administrative remarks.
At the last meeting in September, the board meeting, there was a concern brought up about either bait and or poison / food at Radnor Elementary School on a rock. So I went over and checked that out. And what it was is we took a pine tree limb off above that area. So it was actually the shavings from the chainsaw that came down. Kind of looked like ground up corn, but it was actually the two different colors were from the pine tree limb that was taken off. So if you look right above that rock, you'll see where the limb was taken off. And that's just wanted to follow up if that was a question last time.
Okay.
Thanks, Todd.
Anything else we haven't met for a while, so
I think that's it.
no news about the trail? Nothing we need to report? Okay. All right.
It's in their court designing it.
It's where?
That guy has to, their guy's
I
surveying.
know. I
and
thought
all
that they were going to come back to us. They're just
When
working
is-
on things. They haven't
Yeah.
mentioned anything to you. Okay. That brings us to public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? I'd just like to remind participants that we have a 4-minute limit on your presentation, and so I will remind you at 3 minutes so that you can put your thoughts together to conclude your remarks. Thank you.
Hi, Judy Sherry, Governor Circle, Newtown Square. I had asked if the district, I had talked about the tri-party agreement, and I'd like to know now if the district is monitoring vehicles at Radnor Elementary as required by the tri-party agreement. That's, I think, on page 8. Yes. And I also had asked, and I think there's been a report about facility rentals. I wondered if we started doing them electronically yet. And in the discussion of facility rental, is there any requirement that if a field or classroom is rented by a Radnor resident at a discount, that a percentage of the participants that they're renting this field for or this classroom for must be Radnor residents? For instance, would you say that 55% of those that are participating should be Radnor residents, or does it not matter at all? It just matters whether the person renting the facility is a Radnor resident. And I will look for the photo of that, what I still consider corn, although now it's been described as shavings. I really question whether they were shavings. I was pretty close to that, and it sure looked like corn to me. But I appreciate the fact that the administration did follow through looking at it, but there were 2 areas where that was, and it did not look like shavings. I'm pretty conscious of what shavings would look like, so I am questioning that. And then, does the board agree with the summary of Mr. Kristofko's review of the tri-party agreement as stated in the May facility meeting minutes regarding the pedestrian bridge, where he stated that the school district is 50% responsible and the township is 50% responsible for repairs, and the township owns the bridge? Or do they believe that the agreement states that the district and township are 50% responsible for the costs of construction, maintenance, and repair, and the township is 100% responsible for maintenance and repair, so that the costs are shared equally? So I'd like to know what the school board's position on that is. And because there's no attachments, I just have to kind of ask questions out of the blue. But I guess if the banners on Prevost Field that are being discussed are commercial, have they met the requirements of the advertising policy, and what revenue are they generating? And then yesterday, I visited with Ms. Bertle, Ithan Elementary School. And some quick statistics. According to the COIL report on RTSD real estate holdings, Ithan Elementary School and Roberts Road houses have a land area of 55.477 acres. Wayne has 19.942, and Radnor has 13.522. RMS has only 11.806. The high school and transportation center have 65. Ithan has the smallest number of elementary school students. However, it has 4 times the land area of Radnor and almost 3 times more land than Wayne. The school district has no public plans to use the surplus Ithan acreage to educate children. Parts of this acreage is mowed unnecessarily, and in other areas the trees are under siege by invasives. One of the private homes has a roof that really looks like it's deteriorating. I brought a photo of it to show the board. And I'd like to finish this. Thank you.
That's fine. Finish your thoughts, please.
Thank you. One of the, as I said, the private homes looks like it has a roof that's deteriorating. The driveway leading up to these homes is really in disrepair, I would say. If members of the board want to protect this land as open space, they should swap it or sell it to the township for a field like Odoricio. It's the township's job to protect open space. It's the school district's mission to educate children. But on a positive side, a kindergarten teacher, Eleanor Ball, was busy working in her classroom at 5:30 p.m. last night. So I promised her I would share that information with the superintendent. So those are my 3 photos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment at this time?
Good evening.
Excuse me, Ms. Carroll. Would you mind reading this? Thanks.
Yeah. Good evening. Cindy Spurtle, 106 Valley Forge Terrace, Wayne. In my visit yesterday with Ms. Sherry to Ithan Elementary, I was amazed. I think my first comment was, look at all that lawn that we're mowing and no one is using. So, and also, once again, the thought that school districts should be educating students and not taking care of open space. So I too agree on that. And also, I was curious, the annex or the older building that's on the property that's being used by DCIU, what rent does DCIU pay the Radnor Township School District? I'll be interested in the discussion on all of the agenda items, and I hope we're not starting a precedent. I'm thinking just because it's the beginning of the year that there won't be any attachments for facilities. We went almost every committee meeting last year without any attachments for facilities, and it's great to be able to review before we come to the meeting and know specifically what's going to be discussed. And one other comment. Finally, late last night, the Board of Commissioners revisited again another proposal to address stormwater on the North Wayne field. I watched that meeting, and Radnor Township School District owns the field, but once again, there were no representatives from the school district during the discussion of what is to be done for this field. I don't think the school board was mentioned in the discussion, and what are the proposed stormwater plans, and does the school board endorse them? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Roberta Winters, 326 Williams Road in Rosemont, and I would like to commend Mrs. Ball for her staying late at night. It's not unusual for teachers to come in early and stay late, particularly at the elementary school. And I would like to offer my services if there are questions that anybody on the staff would have regarding Ithan Elementary School and its facilities. I've had a long history there and lots of documentation.
I'm off. All right. That brings us to the approval of the minutes from June. Does anybody remember what happened in June? Committee?
Yeah, okay.
No. Changes? Okay, the minutes stand as written. Let's move to agenda item number 1. So the banners on Prevost Field.
I'd like to have Dan Bechtel join us up at
Perfect.
the table to discuss those banners.
Good evening, everyone. Here to talk a little bit about the banners. So the Radnor Football Booster Club, the Gridiron Booster Club, donated 3 banners for our visitor side stands on Prevost Field. 2 of them say Radnor Football, and 1 of them says Raider Nation. They're very similar. If you've seen the varsity baseball field where the chain link fence goes in the back, we've got a Radnor baseball mesh net banner. They're very similar. Very much appreciative for the Booster Club, and we just wanted to bring it to the Facilities Committee meeting and let you guys know about it and publicly say thank you. So,
Do we have a picture of what they look like?
I do not have a picture. Do you have a picture, Mr. Bechtel?
I do not. I can certainly forward one for the committee.
Can you tell us the size of them? Just more of like
So they are, I would say, 3 feet. Actually, let me see if I've got it.
The fence is 4 feet, so it can't be bigger than that. So. Probably long.
I don't have the exact footage.
Yeah, I think
I'm sorry.
it's the opinion of the committee that we don't need to get bogged down in details. These are going to hang exactly where? On the visitors' side? So
They're
that
on the
means-
visitor side. So the
Fence?
Raider Nation one is directly above the press box. And then we would have 2 that say Radnor Football, 1 on the right side and 1 on the left side of the visitor stands. They are slightly off maroon with white lettering.
Okay.
And just to, I guess, Todd and Michelle, that we'll make sure, right, when they come through, they comply with all of our policies and so forth. So,
We always do make sure that they comply. We also work with the township to make sure, because of the fact that they have a sign ordinance, we make sure that we are in compliance with that as well.
that's great.
And
Thank
we
you.
can send you guys the details regarding the specific size of those banners.
Yeah, so
in the
from my
email.
opinion, I think as long as they comply with our policies, we're appreciative to the Booster Club and Mr. Bechtold for coming and telling us about it. But I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm particularly pleased that they informed you and that, that this complies with township and our school district policies, because that has not always been the case. So this is a huge step ahead.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to just see if anybody's got a visual or just details. Thank you. All right, facilities usage.
The reason that this is on the agenda is because I wanted to let you know about some things that we've been working on as administrators regarding the facility usage. When we brought this to the committee in June, what we realized is that we really need to spend some additional time and do a more detailed, thorough look at our policy and look at those classifications that we have. So we want to take this next year and do that. We'd also like to take the opportunity to let the people who are using our facilities know that we're going to be looking at this to make any potential changes for increases perhaps in the cost or modifications to those classifications. And we haven't really decided what approach we will take currently. In the past, when this was looked at, it was quite a few years ago, there was a committee that was formed, and that committee is the one that made some recommendations to the Finance Committee and the Facilities Committee about what should be charged and what classifications there should be. So we're going to spend some time this year looking at this facility usage application. We're also looking at 2 different models for doing the forms electronically. We haven't made a decision on if we will move forward in that direction, but it is something that we are looking at. And we would like to come back to the Facility Committee in probably April or May with our recommendation that would be implemented in September.
And that would be for if we want to do an electronic form, or would it be what that might look like?
It would be comprehensive, so it would include the possibility of using an electronic format. It would include any recommendations that we have to changes to the classification as well as the application. And then, of course, any changes, modifications to the fees that we're currently charging.
All right. Now, I saw a pretty detailed list of what we were currently doing. So do we anticipate problems with that at the moment? Or this is just sort of best practices, we should review this in the spring? Or
one of the things that we found, Todd and myself, when we started taking and sharing operations and security, is that there were instances where the district was not covering the costs when we had people using our facilities. So we want to take a more detailed look at that so that we can make sure that when people are renting our facilities, especially on a weekend or a holiday, that they're covering the cost of the staff that is assisting with that rental.
Okay. So there is reason to...
There is definitely reason.
Dig around here. Okay.
So I think that we should take a more thorough look at that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
All right. So we will come back to you at a later date with our recommendations. The next item is the high school, middle school wrestling mats and lift. And if we have some questions about this, we're fortunate that Mr. Bechtold is still here and he can answer some questions. He did assist us with our study regarding the mats. You probably will recall that when we did our capital budget for 17-18, the fiscal year, that there was $26,000 for a mat and a lift at the high school and $12,000 for a mat without a lift at the middle school. What we found this summer when we started to look at the cost of lifts and mats is they were much more expensive than we had anticipated.
Oh.
So what we would like to do is we would like to take the current budget that we have for the high school mat and the middle school mat and combine those so that we would have a total of $38,000, and that would cover the cost of a mat and a lift, and we're going to put that at the middle school. The middle school wrestling mats are in much worse shape. And then what we would like to do is in 2018-19, this upcoming budget that we'll be working on shortly, we would like to include a mat and a lift for the high school. Did I cover everything?
Okay, so it's probably very gracious of you to give the mat and the lift to the middle school, but don't we also need that for the high school?
Rather than shouting from the back, I'll come to the
really?
front. So
We like off-camera shit.
I can certainly
Voice
go
in
to the
the
back.
It's not encouraging.
The middle school mats are in much worse shape than the high school mats. So looking at what's best for the district, we would love to have a mat and a lift at the high school, but they really need it there. They have a number of students wrestling on one mat down there. And, by purchasing a lift at the middle school, it's going to free up some of the gym space in the gym that they use, which is the auxiliary gym. Right now they've got the mats just laying against the wall, which is bad to keep the mats in that type of condition. They get beat up easier. So it makes the most sense, despite the fact that I'd love to have a mat and a lift for the high school, for the middle school to get it after inspecting the quality of the mats at both buildings.
Now, what actually... Describe this for me, because what is a lift? Is that a thing that it rolls around, or what?
So there's a couple different types of lift. The lifts that we're looking at for the middle school is a double mat lift, which is a mechanical pulley type system. You have it's similar to a sling. It raises down. You have a key that would go in the wall that the coach would use to. It slowly brings it down, and then you unhook these large straps and unroll the mats from there, and you can roll them out. And then when you're done, you roll them back up and hook the straps up and turn the key, and it raises slowly up.
So this may be redundant, but you have to have the lift to get new mats?
So, full disclosure, I was a former wrestling coach, both a high school wrestling coach and an assistant wrestling coach at the college level. If you want your mats to stay and keep them in good condition, and you also want to have more floor space on your gym, you want to have a lift. When mats are on the floor, they get beat up, they get poked with pencils, you have people sitting on them, they get dinged, they get cut and scratched. The more abrasions, tears, rips, holes in the mats, the more opportunities you have for students to get skin infections. So the way that you prevent that from happening is you keep them away from middle school students or high school students, so they're not out 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So you put them in a mat hoist.
Now, how do we ensure, because I have heard in the past that we had a MRSA scare with the wrestling mats.
Mm-hmm.
How do we ensure that these stay sanitary?
That's a great question. So the mats that we're looking at are Resolite mats, and Resolite has, so like everything, technology improves. Resolite has a micro band shield which protects students. It's built into their mats, which is new in the last couple years. We also wash the mats before every use, and again, keeping them off the ground where you don't have people getting dirt on them and things like that and running across them is going to extend their life and keep it safe for the kids, so they will have less opportunities to get skin infections.
So none of our mats now are this new Resolite, like our high school mats are not, even though they're newer? They're not this new substance?
I can't speak to that.
Okay. So just being concerned about that, should we not have the wrestlers wash them down after the match before these are stowed away, and at the beginning?
That's a great question. I know at the high school level they do both. They wash them down before and after. I would assume that practice is the same at the middle school level. So I will assume that that's the same practice, because that's best practice for wrestling mats.
Great. Okay.
I want to thank Dan. He put a lot of time with the business office this summer, and with George Hahn, who is the athletic director at the middle school, and just want to thank him for all his expertise and the offer to forego purchasing the mat at the high school so that the middle school could get mats that they so desperately need. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And for your expertise. All right. You guys cool? You going to go watch a wrestling match? Yeah. Okay. I guess you should stay for this, too.
That sounds great.
Next item is the courtyard.
Yes, back in the spring, Mr. Bechtold came to Michelle and myself and said the students are interested in remodeling the courtyard, and he was one of their biggest advocates to have them do this. We ended up bringing them in front of this committee to talk about what they were going to do. And since Mr. Bechtold's here, I'll let him go through, because he's kind of been guiding it and giving suggestions and asking students what they'd be looking for through the process. So if you just want to give them an update.
So we are nearing completion for the courtyard project. It is not yet done. The maintenance and operations staff has done a phenomenal job getting ready. So we are finishing the pergola, and we are on schedule to be completed by this weekend. And so our goal is to have the opening on Monday, the 11th at 6 p.m. I'm sorry, the 18th. Yes, a week. So Monday the 18th at 6 p.m. This is something that, was a true community effort. So the funds came from a variety of sources. Our post-prom committee from 2016 really helped start off by giving us the seed money, and so we had to thank them. Our PTSA was very generous and fully supported this. Radnor Educational Foundation supported this. We had O'Sullivan Landscaping that donated, and it was just I can't say enough about Todd and Michelle with their time helping us work through this. Mr. Leister, one of the really neat things about this project was we had Radnor students in our civil engineering classes design this the the way that it would be changed. So they went through using the CAD software and helped to figure out how that was going to be designed, which was wonderful. Our student government, led by Mrs. Pearsall, went and worked with the class of 2017 to raise the funds, and here we are. So we had community donors, and it was, one of the best things about Radnor is students have an idea and the community jumps behind it. And, this is the start of my 7th year here, and I can tell you this is another wonderful example of Radnor coming together to make things happen for kids. So we're excited.
That is really exciting to hear because students were really excited about it when they presented it. So.
Thanks, Dan, really, for all your work on that. Thanks, Todd and Michelle.
Is that Frank O'Sullivan Landscaping?
Yes.
This I don't know if Frank is a Radnor alum, but I know his son Tim. I played football with him, and he's a Radnor alum. So it's good to see Radnor alums having a hand.
Yeah.
And we do have some pictures of the courtyard as we're going through. Michelle's going to bring that up.
Do you want to do that now or in sequence with?
Well, we're going to roll into the summer project updates.
Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. Bechtold?
Looked great last night.
You're free.
Thank you.
You made it through back to school night. Go home to your family.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. So we thought that you might like to see some of the things that the maintenance staff and the custodians and other people in the buildings have been working on over the summer. So we put together a slideshow. This, of course, is the courtyard that you're looking at. On the left, you can see what the courtyard looked like, as well as on the right, what the courtyard looked like before. That is July 13th of 2017, before the project started.
And I just want to jump in. The slide on the left, you'll see a brick structure there. That was the greenhouse previously. We were trying to salvage that greenhouse, but when our guys just took 2 screws out of the glass that was holding the glass on, the glass was that brittle. It actually fell on our guys and cut them, so it's good it didn't fall on students, that we kind of had the right timing. So we were not able to salvage the greenhouse, but we did salvage the structure that you'll see coming down, that we used that existing structure in order to build the pergola and have some seating in there.
Again, this is the Courtyard Renovations. Here you will see the picnic tables that used to be in this space. They were old wooden picnic tables, and they were really in disrepair. And the picture on the right actually shows the existing benches that were underneath the awning in the courtyard. And you can see that they also are in need of repair.
And
Find Mr. Miller's name carved into one of the benches.
And the benches, the picture on the right, they're actually solid cedar. So you'll see what we did with those, I'm sure, in another picture.
So this is the Courtyard Renovations. As they were just getting started, you can see all of the furniture that they're putting together at the bottom and at the top. You can also see some of the new landscaping, and we'll have some other pictures that will show that more clearly. So here you can see the courtyard with all of its new landscaping, the new picnic tables and garbage cans. Those were all put together by our maintenance people over the summer. The students, when they were getting ready to purchase the equipment, the furniture, they were actually going to buy wood because it was less expensive, and the business office was able to find some additional money to help offset the cost and pay for the difference so that they could get composite.
There weren't pictures of the benches, so I apologize.
There was
But
not.
what we did is we took about 1/8 of an inch. We planed off of each side of the benches. So if you happen to get up there or go to the unveiling ceremony next week, you'll see that the cedar came out really nice, and we stained over that so they look like new benches, and we just revitalized what we had instead of spending money to do that. This picture is a picture of a window that we were putting in Wayne Elementary School. Mr. Savage is the assistant principal out there, and he was literally sitting in basically a closet and had no light. So we got a window in there for him that he had some light, so when students come in, it's a little brighter within his office. We also have the propane installation station over at the garage, the transportation building. That was put in over the summer. There is a separate generator that the vendor supplied, that if for some reason our power does go down or the power to that goes down, there's a generator that we can keep fueling as well. This is the pergola that is out at Wayne Elementary School. In one of the sections for the students, that they'll have an area that they can have some outdoor learning within that building. So that's pretty nice. That's Jeff working on that. We did some flooring at the high school to match some other flooring that was up there. We had some damage just through normal wear and tear. That was all ripped out, and if you walk in the high school, you're going to see some pretty nice flooring up there that matches now.
I was there last night. Gorgeous.
It looks very nice, yes.
Looks great.
Out in Ithan, we needed some space, so what we did is our guys put a wall up through Principal Boylan's advice and suggestion what she wanted. So it's always nice that we have our own maintenance crew that we can do some of these things instead of paying outside vendors to come in and take care of it.
So where's the wall?
No, it's room. Is it room 8?
Is it?
It's one of the classrooms, I believe it's classroom 8, and what they did was they divided it in half so that they could have 2 small instruction spaces. They utilize them for their guidance counselor and some of their special education student needs.
Okay.
And they felt that a smaller space was much more adequate.
And then we've been relighting over the past couple of years, so we just continued that.
And that's it.
And we have pages and pages of things that our maintenance guys did, and down to the locks. If you remember the locks back in Ithan last year, those were taken care of. So we have a bunch of projects that we do. We don't list them all because our guys don't want to be called out that they're doing a great job. So we try to just put a few in there. But we do thank the maintenance guys and the ops guys with what they do. And like I said, we couldn't do it without them. And somehow they always pull it together. And the custodial staff with Duncan, and I was coming up on him, and I said, Duncan, I'm a little worried. And he said, don't worry, we got it. And sure enough, it all came together perfect. So they do a great job from painting of the stage floors to the floors that you've seen at the high school, how they can polish them up. And we just have a really good staff. We're blessed to have what we have here at the district.
And some of the other big flooring projects that we did this summer was the middle school stage was done, the high school stage was done, and some gym floors were also redone over the summer. And then, of course, the improvements to the high school auditorium. That was another very large project that we did over the summer. So you can see that our staff has been really busy. If you've been in the buildings, you can see the great job that they have done over the summer. It is always amazing to me with all the activities that go on in our buildings that our maintenance and custodial staff and secretarial staff can accomplish as much as they do.
Can you just fill me in on the conclusion of the locks? Because there was some extremely expensive option. What
we did not go with the expensive option, but we didn't go with the cheapest option that we thought we could because the cover that goes on the door. So if you look at the door and there's a handle, there's a little cover that goes over where the handle meets the door. The ones that were cheaper were smaller, so then you would have had a discoloration of about a half an inch around the whole thing. So we just thought that wouldn't look the best, so we went in the middle there. So we didn't spend all the money that we originally thought we were going to spend, but we couldn't save as much as we thought we could. We wanted to do what looked right and would hold up.
So do you have it there? What did each lock end up costing?
I do not, but we can bring that back.
Because the original estimate was ridiculous, remember?
Yeah, it was $350 a lock or something
Yeah.
like that. $400.
So
It's big, like commercial prison quality.
Yeah, so it was not the commercial prison quality, as Mr. Miller just stated. But we will come back with an approximate number.
Okay, so we're some
Somewhere in
reasonable
between,
amount.
correct.
Okay. And that's done, so.
That should be done, correct.
It is nice.
Great.
You guys have the full list you can post somewhere, so
I guess we could. I mean, we have the list here.
people ask us, what do they do?
Yeah, we can get something out there. We're still going to be doing some things this fall because we were down medically 3 guys for a good portion of the summer. So we're a little behind in what we wanted to do this summer, but we'll get it done this fall. So.
Great. Thank you.
So that was just kind of an FYI update on a bunch of items that were happening throughout the district.
All right. So no pressing, nothing withstanding that. How about our playground over at Ithan? I believe we left that hanging over the summer.
We did take care of the hanging trees, speaking of hanging,
Hanging.
over at the playground. The seating did not take the best this summer, so we did just have it reseated about a week and a half ago. So yesterday, our maintenance guys blocked off the area of the center field. If you're familiar with the lodge down there, there was the two playgrounds, the new ones. So we actually blocked that off to allow the grass to start. Just to make sure, because I was out there Friday watching the students, and they were just running back and forth, and we weren't going to have enough growth. So we blocked it off. I talked to Tranya. So the students will have to go around. So once we get that middle established, then we'll block off where they were running around before, that we can reestablish that. We also talked earlier this summer about the kindergarten playground. We were looking at different options, but some of those options were $30,000 or $40,000 to get that taken care of. Michelle and I thought that was just a little out of bounds as far as what it would cost. So we just talked to some vendors on Friday, and we'll be having that in the next week. There's a tree that's damaged in that kindergarten area, so that tree's going to come down. We're going to grind the stump out, and then we're going to lay sod to get that started. So the students will have to be off it for about 2 to 3 weeks till it takes hold. So they'll have some area there that they can play in, that they're not going to be taking mud into the buildings.
All right, so the part in the spring where we put the new equipment in, and then we had a drainage problem. Where does that stand right now? Is that still blocked off for seating, or can kids play on that now?
They could play on it, but what we did is we forced them off of some of that area so we could get a good grass growth.
But the new equipment.
The new equipment is fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're on the playgrounds. They're just,
Okay.
if you're familiar out there, there's next to the lodge is a little playground, and then the real big playground off to the side.
Yeah.
So the grass in the middle we just blocked off so we can
Okay.
get some good grass growth, because you can't have grass grow well if you have all those students running around on it for several times a day.
So we tried this over the summer, and what? It was just too dry or too hot?
It didn't take. Multiple reasons, So what we did is we worked it again, and we'll see what happens.
So
we should
it
be
didn't.
okay.
It didn't not take because of a drainage.
No, it did not take
problem.
because of
Okay.
drainage. The drainage is all fixed. It's taken care of. The water goes down, it's all funneled into the drain. The drain goes out and goes down the side hill like it always has. We just connected more of the area to get that out. So the playgrounds are not sitting in water like they were last spring when we spoke, and last fall.
All right. I just want to make sure kids get on there. I mean,
They have.
we kind of promised.
They're
them
on the
fall.
playground equipment. They're just not able to be in the middle of where the grass is right now for the entire area.
Mrs. Boylan did she did it before school started, actually, a whole ribbon cutting where she invited the students. Students and their parents came, and they played on the new equipment, and are just thrilled to have the new equipment
Yeah.
there. So
Good.
it was nice. It was nice to see.
Right. Anything you want to follow up on? Do you? Okay. Good. Thank you, guys. Busy. I appreciate it. All right. We're so organized. Okay, that brings us to our second opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
That's a quick meeting. Now we get 20 minutes to talk, don't we?
No, we would still ask that you respect the 4-minute time limit. Thank you, Ms. Spurtle.
Cindy Spurtle, 106 Valley Forge Terrace, Wayne. Facility usage. And the facilities department per Michelle was that they're going to study the form, study possible electronic application for the usage of the facility. And it's going to, then they're targeting April or May as the completion date. My question is why it would take so long, and I know you have a lot on your plate besides facilities, but especially if some of the fees that are paid are not being covered by the expenses. I mean, the fees are not covering the expenses. My concern would be that we'd want to get it done a lot sooner, and just a question as to could this be a project for the Citizens Committee that's now working with the board so that it would be completed sooner. Listening to the questions from Ms. Solomon about pictures of the banners, pictures of what does the lift do, what does it look like. Just a suggestion, it would be great maybe, and I don't know if it's possible to do like a YouTube picture or a Google picture on the screen of the, I looked it up, the mat lift, just very quickly, and that would help in the discussion, and also when we come to these meetings in the afternoon, would reduce the time and questioning that we went through just back then. And I apologize, Todd. Did you say something about the benches at the high school, the old benches and the picnic tables were stained or painted? Or was that was something else that was being painted to look better? And if it wasn't the old benches for the new location, the new court, where are they, and could they be donated to local parks in the township? As an idea, if they weren't thrown out. The dog park would gladly accept them. Hartford Park. And the other question, we went over in our tour yesterday of Ithan. We saw all the new equipment. It's great. I wish they had jungle gyms that were ropes when I was growing up, because I banged my forehead and had a big lump growing. Had to walk all the way home with a big lump on my forehead. But it looked like they were all new, and I understand some was donated by the PTO and some we purchased. And my question was, I guess, what new equipment were you pricing out this summer? Because these all looked great. We did see the patch that was reseeded, so the kids can sit on the buddy bench and watch the grass grow. But they both look like brand new equipment, and it looks like something that their students are definitely going to. And they did say that it was the teacher who was there working late informed us that it's going to be used by the K through 2 kids. So more than just the kindergarten students will enjoy it. And thank you.
Judy Sherry, Governor's Circle, Newtown Square. In my rush to make the 4-minute deadline, I inadvertently left out one of my questions, which I'd asked before, which is, why should former employees get a discount on field and classroom rentals? I think I left that out, but I'm not sure what qualifications they have that they should benefit from a discount. And then I think Ms. Spurtle asked the question about the annex, which is rented to the DCIU, which we looked in the windows of. There still are at Ithan portable classrooms at the top of the area, and they appear to be used, not sure, for extended day families. What's the situation with those portable classrooms? What are they being used for now? Do we have to wait till Wednesday for the administration to review these questions to get an answer for that?
Yeah,
or
I believe that
we have
there's
still 15 minutes.
I believe there is going to be a new sort of protocol followed where the questions will be answered, in an orderly fashion, which is only fair to not put people on the spot. So no, I don't believe anybody's prepared to answer that tonight.
Well, my recommendation would be for questions that are challenging and you don't have the answers for, I think it's great to meet afterwards and then come up with the answer. But if you know the answer and there's time, it seems like it would be prudent just to respond to the questions. So if somebody knows the answer as to what those classrooms are being used for, it would be nice to hear from them. I don't know if we get rental from them or if they're just, or how that works. So I'd be interested in that. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. I happened to notice with interest the propane tanks that are now installed at the bus garage, and I hope you have adequate emergency planning for those, as well as informing your all those involved with your emergency response team as what is the appropriate protocol in dealing with those, as well as those people who are in that vicinity in terms of knowing the signs to look for in case there happens to be an incident. The other thing I would like to mention is, having sat through many of the commissioners' meetings and also having lived in the lower annex at Ithan School for several years, I know that stormwater management is an issue not only in the township as a whole, but also specifically in our schools. And I would hope that perhaps you would consider reaching out to Villanova University, which has been mentioned in the local Inquirer for doing some outstanding projects in the Philadelphia area, that they might collaborate with you and perhaps provide opportunities for their students to do some innovative projects that might not only facilitate our township, but also our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that idea.
Yeah, they win national awards all the time.
Yeah. Is there any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, motion that we adjourn our committee.
Motion.
Second.